Hello and welcome live to New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next hour. India's space agency is all set to launch its first mission to dock spacecraft, crucial to its plans for having a space station and other firsts in the future. South Korea launches a probe of all Boeing 737-800 aircraft operated by its carriers after the Jeju air crash that claimed 179 lives. Taliban Supreme Leader issues order banning construction of windows in residential buildings that overlook areas used by Afghan women. And President Joe Biden says Jimmy Carter will have a state funeral and a national day of mourning. The former US president died at the age of 100 on Sunday. Amid political uncertainty in South Korea, a court warrant has been sought to arrest impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol over charges linked to his brief martial law decree, with his fate now dependent on the Constitutional Court's decision. Last week, the National Assembly also voted to impeach acting President Han Duck-soo, further deepening the political crisis. Meanwhile, massive protests both for and against Yoon have rocked South Korea. More in this report.
South Korean law enforcement officials have requested a warrant from the Seoul Western District Court to arrest impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol over allegations of rebellion and abuse of power linked to his short-lived martial law decree on 3rd of December this year. Impeached President Yoon's lawyer has challenged the warrant, arguing that the warrant request was invalid. He also claimed that the anti-corruption agency lacks the legal authority to investigate rebellion charges. However, he evaded answering how the legal team would respond if the court approved the warrant for the president's detainment. The warrant request came after Yoon dodged several requests by the Joint Investigation Team and public prosecutors to appear for questioning and also blocked searches of his offices. While Yoon has the presidential privilege of immunity from criminal prosecution, such protections don't extend to allegations of rebellion or treason. Under the country's laws, locations potentially linked to military secrets cannot be seized or searched without the consent of the person in charge, and it's unlikely that Yoon will voluntarily leave his residence if he faces detention. There are also concerns about possible clashes with Yoon's Presidential Security Service if authorities attempt to forcibly detain him. Vast protests both for and against Yoon have rocked South Korea since he sought to impose martial law in early December, plunging the country into its worst political crisis in decades. The country's leadership crisis intensified on Friday after the opposition-controlled legislature voted to also impeach acting President Han Duck-soo when he refused to immediately appoint 3 justices to fill vacancies on the Constitutional Court, which is deliberating whether to uphold Yoon's impeachment. Now the presidential authority has been handed to Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of South Korea. Yoon's fate now lies with the Constitutional Court. Moreover, as of now, it's not clear whether the Seoul Western District Court will grant the warrant to detain Yoon or whether he can be compelled to appear for questioning. Raghav Kumar Jha, reporting for DD India.
Now, apart from having a torrid time with its politics, South Korea is also dealing with its worst ever air crash. A memorial service was organized for the victims of the Jeju airplane crash on Monday. South Korea's acting president has ordered an emergency safety inspection of all the country's entire Boeing 737-800 fleet after 179 people died in the plane crash on Sunday. Here's more.
These are the visuals of people paying their respects at the memorial held for the victims of the Jeju airplane crash, the deadliest ever on South Korean soil. The monks also paid their respects on Monday. They would have never imagined that this air travel was the last one for their loved ones. People in Seoul are now scared of flights.
I usually don't feel worried when taking flights. But today, I feel a bit anxious. My family has been quite concerned too. So I think that made me feel more uneasy as well.
Two crew members were pulled alive from the crash site at the Muan International Airport on Sunday.
정확하게 caution bird
The control tower advised the pilot with the phrase "caution bird activity." At 8:59 a.m., the pilot reported an emergency declaration and go around due to a bird strike. The pilot declared "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday" 3 times and used the terms "bird strike" and "go around."
The crash occurred as the plane attempted to land on its belly after the landing gear failed to deploy. Both crew members were rescued from the tail section, which was the only part of the plane that retained some shape.
It happened right here, not far away. It's traumatic. I don't know how long this feeling will last, but I know it won't go away anytime soon.
Families of Jeju air crash victims are hoping to recover the remains of their loved ones soon.
The bodies are so severely damaged that we are in a situation where we need to recover and piece them together one by one. That's the current reality. Additionally, we have requested more medical personnel and resources to be deployed to this area.
When I saw the video, it was like the plane had lost control. My daughter, who is only in her 40s, is gone. This is unimaginable.
South Korea's acting president has announced a week-long mourning period. Another Jeju airplane reported a landing gear issue just a day later. South Korea has ordered air safety probe and also a special inspection of all Boeing 737-800s operating in the country.
We will conduct a detailed inspection of the B737-800 aircraft and review maintenance systems to determine next steps.
Aviation experts say some sort of landing gear malfunction was likely, with bird strikes and poor weather also under the probe. The crash has reminded South Koreans of a similar incident in 1997 when 228 people were killed in a South Korean airline which crashed in Guam. Bureau Report, DD India.
And US stocks slipped in early trading Monday as traders looked at lock-in profits, and Boeing stocks fell following a deadly plane crash in South Korea. Shortly after markets opened on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.1%, while the broad-based S&P 500 index slipped 1.2%. The tech-focused Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 1.4%. Among major firms, Boeing shares fell 4.9% in early trading. Well, a series of devastating aviation disasters in 2024 have left hundreds dead and raised serious concerns about air travel safety. From mechanical failures to extreme weather and even human errors, the tragic incidents have put the aviation industry under intense scrutiny. Let's take a closer look at some of the major plane crashes that shook the world this year.
From Azerbaijan to Tokyo, 2024 has been a grim year for aviation, with several catastrophic incidents claiming lives and sparking widespread concern. On December 25th, an Embraer aircraft operated by Azerbaijan Airlines crashed near Aktau Airport in Kazakhstan, killing 38 of the 67 people on board. Just days earlier, on 22nd of December, a private plane went down in Gramado, Brazil, killing 10 passengers and injuring 17 people on the ground. In August, Brazil faced one of its deadliest aviation disasters when a Vopas Airlines plane crashed near Venhedo, leaving all 62 on board dead. In May, severe turbulence on a Singapore Airlines Boeing 777 resulted in a fatal heart attack for one passenger, while over 40 others suffered serious injuries, including fractures and head trauma. And in January, tragedy struck in Tokyo when a Japan Airlines flight collided with a Coast Guard aircraft during landing, sparking a deadly fire on the runway and killing 5 people. Let's also take a look at the causes of plane crashes. Commercial airplane crashes can occur due to a combination of factors such as mechanical failures, human error, and adverse weather conditions. Maintenance issues, pilot mistakes, and communication breakdowns are common contributors to aviation accidents. While air travel remains one of the safest modes of transportation, the events of 2024 are a stark reminder of the importance of constant vigilance and continued improvements in aviation safety. Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
Let's now tell you how minorities in Bangladesh have been facing increasing persecution under the interim government, with calls for India's and international intervention from victims and their sympathizers. At the same time, India is also concerned about illegal Bangladeshi immigration. The Delhi police has been having an ongoing campaign to apprehend illegal Bangladeshi immigrants in the national capital. Tapas Bhattacharya reports.
India's immediate neighbor, Bangladesh, is in a state of turmoil, with rising fundamentalist elements trying to change the nature of the country and its past when it was formed in 1971. Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh face escalating persecution under the interim government. Since August 2024, judicial independence has eroded and systematic violence against minorities has surged. Experts warn of a looming humanitarian crisis, with calls for UN intervention and autonomous zones to protect vulnerable communities.
We demand immediate, decisive steps from global and Indian leadership to protect endangered Hindus, other religious minorities, indigenous people and tribal groups under the hostile and pro-jihadist illegal government in Bangladesh.
Immediate global action is being called for to safeguard religious and indigenous groups from growing violence under a regime accused of being pro-jihadist and anti-democratic.
Bangladesh is captured by jihadis, Bangladesh is captured by Jamaat-e-Islami and Hizbut Tahriris. So they are haters of Hindus. They don't like any minorities in Bangladesh. They come in power, they capture the Bangladesh and they are torturing Hindus every single day. Hindus are living in fear.
Meanwhile, illegal Bangladeshi immigration is a matter of growing concern for India. The Delhi police launched a campaign to apprehend illegal Bangladeshi immigrants in India's capital, where 7 individuals were arrested and deported on Sunday. The raids were conducted in slums, labor camps and unauthorized colonies. During a verification drive in the Kalindi Kunj area, Delhi police identified and nabbed the illegal immigrants. Last week, the police uncovered an illegal immigration racket, arresting 5 Bangladeshi nationals and 6 individuals involved in forging Aadhaar cards, voter IDs and other documents to facilitate border crossings. With bureau inputs, Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. US President Joe Biden announces a $2.5 billion fresh security aid for Ukraine. Spanish authorities seize 7 tons of cocaine smuggled into the country's south.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Afghan women have been systematically stripped of their economic independence under Taliban rule. They've been forced out of public administration roles. Their presence in the private sector has been drastically reduced, and many women-owned businesses have been forcibly shut down. In the latest order, Taliban has imposed new restrictions banning windows that overlook areas where women carry out domestic chores. They also threatened to close all national and foreign non-governmental groups in Afghanistan employing women. Fuzail Ahmed reports.
The atrocities against women in Afghanistan is increasing with every passing day. First, they were made speechless and then faceless. Taliban has banned windows that overlook areas where women work, be it kitchen, living room, or just a refreshing area. Authorities have been ordered to monitor construction sites and block existing windows. Taliban on Sunday threatened to close all national and foreign non-governmental groups in Afghanistan employing women. Taliban's economy ministry issued a letter warning NGOs against employing women. The letter stated that failure to comply would result in cancellation of organizations' operating license. It comes 2 years after they told NGOs to suspend the employment of Afghan women. Since August 2021, the Taliban have systematically dismantled women and girls' access to education in Afghanistan, enforcing increasingly dire restrictions. Girls were first banned from secondary schools in March 2022, followed by suspension from universities in December of the same year.
I was studying IT when the Taliban came to power and banned access to classes for women. After that, I was very disappointed. I isolated myself at home. Then I went for English classes, which were also banned by the Taliban.
It did not stop there. They even stopped women from attending institutions offering medical education.
We may not see the impact very quickly, but after 3-4 years, we will see the number of maternal mortality rate will go up and up, high and high.
Afghanistan now ranks among the world's countries with the highest rates of gender-based violence. In 2023, data revealed that 28.7% of Afghan girls under 18 were married, including 9.6% under the age of 15. UN Women analysis showed that by 2026, the impact of leaving 1.1 million girls out of school and over 100,000 women out of university is correlated, with an increase in rate of early childbearing by 45% and an increased risk of maternal mortality by at least 50%. It was in July 2023, beauty salons were ordered to shut down as employment opportunities declined for women after Taliban authorities took power in 2021. Many Afghan women launched small businesses to meet their own needs and support other women. Malala Yousafzai, who is the youngest ever Nobel Peace Prize laureate, says Taliban does not represent the diversity of the country.
Islam does not prohibit a girl from learning. Islam does not prohibit a woman from working. I do hope that more Muslim countries and Muslim leaders come forward to challenge the Taliban.
The Taliban's latest directive underscores its commitment to rolling back women's rights in Afghanistan. With inputs from Fuzail Ahmed, Bureau Report, DD India.
And US President Joe Biden has announced $2.5 billion in security assistance for Ukraine as the US rushes to aid Kyiv before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The package includes $1.25 billion in military aid from US stockpiles and $1.22 billion under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. Unlike stockpile aid, USAI funds are used to procure equipment, often taking months or years to reach the battlefield. The latest assistance for Ukraine follows an announcement at the beginning of the month of a nearly $1 billion tranche of drones, ammunition and equipment. The outgoing Biden administration is working to get as much aid as possible to Ukraine before Donald Trump, who has repeatedly criticized US assistance for Kyiv and claimed he could secure a ceasefire within hours, takes office in January. Former US President and Nobel Peace Laureate Jimmy Carter passed away at the age of 100 years. Carter had been in hospice care since mid-February in 2023 at his home in Plains, Georgia, the same small town where he was born and once ran a peanut farm before becoming governor of the Peach State and running for the White House.
My name is Jimmy Carter and I'm running for president.
Jimmy Carter was the 39th President of the United States of America between 1977 and 1981. He was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize for work to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. Carter was born on October 1st, 1924 in Georgia. After 7 years' service as a naval officer, he returned to his hometown. In 1962, he entered state politics, and 8 years later, he was elected the governor of Georgia. Carter announced his candidacy for the president in December 1974 and began a 2 year campaign that gradually gained momentum. On November 2, 1976, he defeated Republican incumbent Gerald Ford in the presidential election and was sworn in as the next president. On September 17, 1978, he signed the Camp David Accords, which led to peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. Carter prompted government efficiency through civil service reforms and proceeded with deregulation of the trucking and airline industries. He sought to improve the environment. His expansion of the national park system included protection of 103 million acres of Alaskan lands. To increase human and social services, Carter created the Department of Education, bolstered the social security system, and appointed record numbers of women, blacks, and Hispanics to government jobs. After presidency, he founded the Carter Center in 1982. It's a non-governmental organization that focuses on conflict resolution and health initiatives. In 2002, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. His presidency was marked by few lows also. The seizure as hostages of the US embassy staff in Iran dominated the news during the last 14 months of his administration. The consequences of Iran's holding Americans captive, together with continuing inflation at home, contributed to Carter's defeat in 1980. Even then, he continued the difficult negotiations over the hostages. Iran finally released the 52 Americans the same day Carter left office. In November 1980, he was defeated by Republican challenger Ronald Reagan in the presidential election. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Well, the world is mourning the loss of Jimmy Carter, the 39th US president, who passed away on Sunday at the age of 100 in Georgia. As the news of his passing spread, people around the world have been paying tribute to a man who played a key role in fostering peace both from and after leaving the White House. More in this report.
Reactions have been pouring since the announcement of Jimmy Carter's demise was made by the Carter family. Incumbent US President Joe Biden and fellow Democrats stated former President Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose.
The entire Carter family, on behalf of the world, the whole nation, we send our whole heartfelt sympathies and gratitude. Our gratitude for sharing President Carter with us for so many years. You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose, a life of principle, faith, and humility. You know, he's like my dad. He thought that you say, Joey, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity, your dignity. About being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, everything's going to be okay.
US President Joe Biden has declared January 9 National Day of Mourning for Jimmy Carter. Starting Sunday, flags on all official American buildings will be flown half-mast for 30 days. US President-elect Donald Trump paid tribute to former President Carter, saying, "The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude." Former US President Bill Clinton paid tribute to Jimmy Carter on social media platform X, stating that from his commitment to civil rights as a state senator and governor of Georgia to his efforts as president to protect our natural resources in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, make energy conservation a national priority, return the Panama Canal to Panama, and secure peace between Egypt and Israel at Camp David. He worked tirelessly for a better, fairer world. Various world leaders have taken to social media platform X to express grief over Jimmy Carter's demise. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola and French President Emmanuel Macron, Ukrainian President Zelensky were among the European leaders expressing their sadness. Macron in his post on X said that throughout his life, Jimmy Carter has been a steadfast advocate for the rights of the most vulnerable and has tirelessly fought for peace. France sends its heartfelt thoughts to his family and to the American people. While British Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote that his thoughts are with his family and friends at this time. Hungarian PM Viktor Orban wrote that his country will always cherish Carter's memory. Among his significant works is that in 1977, Jimmy Carter gave Panama the control of Panama Canal. It's one of his most controversial achievements. It was a territory known to some who lived there as a tropical utopia. The canal zone in Panama had been under US control for nearly 75 years. Latin American leaders, including Panama's President Jose Raul Molino, also expressed condolences along with the governments of Peru and Venezuela. Carter's legacy includes his commitment to human rights, peace, and democracy. Antara Sinha for DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condoled the passing of former US President Jimmy Carter. In a post on X, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "A statesman of great vision, he worked tirelessly for global peace and harmony. His contributions to fostering strong India-US ties leave a lasting legacy. My heartfelt condolences to his family, friends and the people of the US." And let's also take a look at some other stories making news around the world. Spain's Guardia Civil seized packages of drugs and weapons as authorities announced the capture of 7 tons of cocaine stashed in sea freight containers hidden beneath a farm in the country's south. The police said that they launched the operation on Friday after detecting 2 suspicious speedboats at the mouth of the Guadalquivir River. Kenyan police fired tear gas and forcibly detained dozens of people during a protest against recent alleged government abductions that have sparked outrage across the country. Security forces in the East African nation have been accused of conducting numerous illegal detentions following youth-led anti-government demonstrations in June and July. Myanmar's ethnic Karen people celebrated their traditional New Year on Monday. Residents of Pa'an, the capital of Karen State, held a traditional ceremony featuring dancing, singing and prayers for a good harvest in the coming year. The 18th edition of India-Nepal military exercise with the aim of securing an expansion of bilateral relations is beginning at Saljhandi in Rupandehi on Tuesday. The battalion-level joint military exercise named Surya Kiran focuses on jungle warfare, counter-terrorism in difficult geography, the establishment of peacekeeping missions according to the UN Charter and environmental protection. The Gurung community is celebrating Tamu Losar on Monday, bidding farewell to the past year. Members of the community observe the festival by organizing feasts and cultural programs. Tamu Losar is celebrated with great enthusiasm in districts of Nepal with significant Gurung populations, including Lamjung, Gorkha, Tanahun, Siangja, Manang, Kaski and Parbat. And still to come on DD India News Hour. ISRO's SpaceX mission is poised to join elite nations in orbital docking technology. On the other side, an expert will join us to discuss the significance of this achievement once it happens. The NDRF trains over 100 boatmen in water disaster rescue ahead of Mahakumbh 2025.
The year 2024 was marked by some historic elections across the continents, coupled with global unrest. Beat historic third-term win for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with unprecedented mandate, US President-elect Donald Trump making a spectacular comeback. Curtains down for the year 2024. What an year it was.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, in less than half an hour from now, India's space agency ISRO is set to launch its space docking experiment, also known as SpaceX, on board a PSLV rocket. Success would mean that India would join an elite club of nations like the US, Russia and China, which have the capability to carry out orbital docking, which is a key technology for future human spaceflight and satellite servicing missions.
India will cross a crucial milestone in its space exploration journey if it registers a success in its SpaceX, which is short for Space Docking Experiment. Docking is a process in which two fast-moving spacecraft are maneuvered into the same orbit, then brought closer together and finally docked or joined to each other. The mission will be launched on board ISRO's PSLV C-60 rocket. Two small spacecraft of 220 kilograms each will be launched by the rocket. The spacecraft will be placed in a 470-kilometer circular orbit at 55 degrees inclination. The orbit cycle is for about 66 days, with a small relative velocity between the two spacecraft. A 20-kilometer separation or far rendezvous will be created between the two spacecraft. The two spacecraft, known as Target and Chaser, will remain in the same orbit with identical velocity. The Chaser spacecraft will gradually close the distance to the Target spacecraft. The spacecraft will dock successfully and rigidization will occur. Electrical power transfer between the two spacecraft will be demonstrated. A successful mission would help in developing India's own space station called the Bharatiya Antariksh Station or BAS by 2035. It will enable Chandrayaan-4 lunar sample return missions, and it will also help India prepare for the Gaganyaan human spaceflight program. The lessons from SpaceX will also feed into India's long-term goals of creating a self-sustaining space ecosystem, including human space exploration. Several new technologies will also be demonstrated during this mission, apart from carrying out of experiments. This is the first time that the India Trusted Rocket has been put together in the new PSLV integration facility. It has been transported to the launch pad on a moving platform. Launch vehicles have so far been assembled on the launch pads themselves. Lead-in period between missions will get shortened considerably. The mission will also use a new processor based on satellite navigation systems. The fourth stage of PSLV will carry out several innovative experiments for the first time. The fourth stage will be used as PS4 Orbital Experimental Module or POEM. POEM will demonstrate 24 technologies, including 10 from startups and educational institutions. An ISRO mission will carry out a biological experiment for the first time. The Compact Research Module or Orbital Plant Studies or CROPS experiment will see the germination of seed and sustenance of a plant up to a two-leaf stage. A green propulsion system will also be experimented with. This would be ISRO's last mission in 2024, and its success would prove critical for the space agency's plans for India's Space Odyssey in 2025 and beyond. Gautam Roy's report for DD India.
Let me now bring in Dr. SV Sharma, former Deputy Director ISRO, who's joining us. Good evening to you, Dr. Sharma. Could you first share your first thoughts on the fact that ISRO has had a fairly successful year this year, and it might be able to cap it off successfully as well if this launch is, well, successful?
Successful is one, but one thing what we should note is that such type of experiment has been done so far by only 4 countries: America, Russia, China, and to some part of Europe. And this is the only 5th country which is trying such an experiment. And this is the culmination of hard work of 5 to 6 years by the scientists and engineers of ISRO spread across the Indian continent. Having said that, this has 220 kg, 2 satellites which are going to be launched exactly at about 10 p.m. and they will be spatially separated by 20 kilometers. And it is expected that the 2 satellites will be mated before 10th of September. That is in about 10 days, the satellites will be brought closer. Once the satellite is launched from 20, with a spatial distance of 20 kilometers, then it will be reduced to 15 kilometers, then to 10 kilometers, then to 5 gradually, and then from 5 kilometers, then it gets into a fine management of the spatial distance between the 2 satellites. 5 kilometers to 4, 3, 2, and the last 500 meters is extremely crucial. So the entire, the docking, the lander, the chaser, and the target, the AI, that is the artificial intelligence which is used, and the algorithms which are used, and the dynamic algorithms which are used, and the very, very specific, the sensors and the actuators which are used for the docking experiments, everything has to be tested and proven. And the most importantly, the dynamic algorithm, which is called as the AI algorithm, which is working dynamically to see that the two satellites made is something which needs to be demonstrated and which the country is looking forward to. As it has been rightly mentioned, this is the step forward towards the so-called the BSS, that is the Bharat Space Station, something similar to ISS by America and the Russia and other countries joined together, and this becomes extremely important experiment. When we have the BSS in orbit around 400 to 480 kilometers orbit, when the astronauts have to be taken, the supplements have to be taken, the food has to be taken, the crew module, service module has to be taken to the ISS, and it has to be made properly, and the astronauts should be able to go inside the space station, do the experiments, and come back safely. So this is step forward. 2035, 2040, where BSS is expected to be operational. This becomes extremely important. Apart from this, what ISRO has also done is a marvelous thing of getting about 12 universities and the startups for doing various experiments in the 220 kg each two satellites, including where the debris management, the communication between the Earth in various bands, specifically by the students of this country and the startups of this country, and it really is an encouragement for the student community and the startup community for doing various experiments. Of course, the POEM is something, the first time, which is necessarily need to be mentioned. POEM is nothing but the fourth stage of the PSLV C60 rocket. We all know the PSLV rocket has 4 stages. First stage, second stage, third stage, and fourth stage, where it is solid state, liquid, solid, and the liquid is the combination of the PSLV.
Yes, certainly. But tell us, Dr. Sharma, what is the most critical phase of the launch today itself, and then for the entire mission going further on?
Yeah, the most important thing is that when the satellite gets separated, 2 satellites have to be separated with a spatial distance of 20 kilometers, and it has to be in the same orbit. That's the first and foremost requirement, and any error in that would add to many complications further. Then,
and that is also something that India and ISRO will be doing for the first time?
Yes, this is the first time India is doing such 2 satellites on the same orbit in the spatial distance of 20 kilometers. This is first challenge. Second challenge, as I was trying to mention to you, the POEM, which used to be, the 4th stage of the rocket, which used to be discarded after usage. India, ISRO has come out with a novel idea of making that as an orbiter. That is, after launching of the 2 satellites, the PS4 engine, the main engine will fire and reduce its velocity and be in 350 kilometer, come to 350 kilometer orbit and do several experiments, including the debris management, capturing the debris, and the several other MEMS and the gyroscopes and the laser systems, etc. About 14 experiments which are going to be done by the PS4 necessarily need to be mentioned along with this PADEX experiment, because these 2, one is the rocket-based experiment, other one is the satellite-based experiment. Both are really crucial and important for this country and being done for the first time. And of course, it stands up along with the other countries in the world.
Right. And do you think that this has been a challenging mission, considering the fact also that a slight change in timing has had to be made today itself for the launch?
Slight changes and adjustment always happens. Always, the window of the launch is always kept 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and within that time, several parameters have to be managed. Please understand, this is a very complex mission. Any rocket launch is a very complex mission. Each and every rocket launch, to the scientists involved, the rocket scientists, is like a childbirth. Okay, every childbirth is equally important. Therefore, every time the launch happens, entire team will be on their toes, similar to previous launch. Therefore, here, when the atmospheric conditions were studied, when the location of the sun, moon, and the other planets, along with and the stars with which the coordinates of the launches are fixed. Therefore, a shift of about 2 minutes. It was supposed to have been 9 hours 58 9:58 p.m. It has gone to 10 p.m. two minutes adjustment is not really something which doesn't it happens regularly in almost every launch, and generally 10 to 15-minute shift also we can observe, and sometimes we have postponed it by a day is also there.
Okay, let's also talk about India's workhorse, proven workhorse really, which is the PSLV, which again will see a sort of an advancement which is being demonstrated for the first time, which is going to ensure that in further PSLV missions the turnaround time is far more quick.
One is the turnaround time is quicker. That is the production of these PSLVs are happening. This is the core alone. It doesn't have the boosters, etc., because the total payload weight is only 450 kg and the orbit is about 400 kilometers. So it is a core alone and being done by our marvelous industry support. Industries have come up with doing various stages and various engines, etc. But the most important and the takeaway from this mission, if you ask me, is the PS4 orbital experimental module of POEM, which is going to be used as an orbiter. Please understand that all the time the PS4 engine, PS4 stage used to be discarded. Now making something out of nothing is our strength, I believe, and that's how the entire mission is being looked at. And if we are able to successfully reduce the velocity of PS4 and bring it down to 350 kilometers and do those 14 experiments which have been planned by VSSC, LPSC, IASU and the IAST, the student community, etc., is a marvelous thing to take forward. The stage which used to be discarded will be very useful as a satellite which can serve for maybe years.
All right. Well, we're all really praying for a successful mission which will take place, the launch taking place just a few seconds after 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about it till then. Thank you. And still to come on the India News Hour. Australia clinched the fourth test against India, the Boxing Day test, by 184 runs, taking a 2-1 lead in the 5-test match series. And India's fast bowler Jasprit Bumrah has been nominated for 2 International Cricketing Council prestigious awards. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the country as well. Well, the Grand Kumbh Mela is set to begin on the 13th of January in 2025. As part of these preparations, a water disaster rescue training program was organized on Saturday at the VIP Ghat by the 11th National Disaster Response Force team from Varanasi. The program trained over 100 boat persons, focusing on safety measures to prevent drowning and techniques to assist visiting devotees. Former Supreme Court of India Judge Justice V. Ramasubramanian on Monday assumed the charge of the chairperson and Justice Bidyut Ranjan Sarangi as a member of the National Human Rights Commission, India. They were appointed by the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, on the 21st of December. Steel Authority of India Limited has earned the prestigious Great Place to Work certification for January 2025 to January 2026, awarded by the Great Place to Work Institute, India. This marks the second consecutive certification for SAIL. And now it's time to get to some sporting updates as well. Well, in sports, Australia took 7 Indian wickets in the final session of the 4th test in Melbourne, that is the Boxing Day test, to win by 184 runs and go 2-1 up in the 5-match series. Yashasvi Jaiswal fought a lone battle, scoring 84 runs. India's downfall started when Rishabh Pant was dismissed for 30 runs while playing a pull shot. Nitish Kumar Reddy and Ravindra Jadeja also failed and fell cheaply after Pant's departure. India were all out for 155 runs in their second innings. For Australia, pacers Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc grabbed 3 wickets each, while Nathan Lyon snapped up 2 wickets. The final test starts in Sydney on Friday. And India's fast bowlers Jasprit Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh, along with women's cricketers Smriti Mandhana and Shreyank Patil, have been nominated for the 2024 International Cricket Council Awards. Bumrah is in contention for 2 prestigious awards. He's been nominated for Men's Cricketer of the Year and the ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year. The 31-year-old fast bowler was instrumental in helping India win their second T20 World Cup earlier this year. Bumrah picked up 15 wickets from 8 matches. The 31-year-old pacer also took 71 wickets in 13 tests, which are the most by any bowler in 2024. Arshdeep Singh has been nominated for the ICC Men's T20I Cricketer of the Year. He picked 36 wickets from 18 matches. Smriti Mandhana has been nominated for the ICC Women's ODI Cricketer of the Year. She has scored 747 runs, including 4 centuries from 13 innings. Shreyank Patil has earned a nomination for the ICC Emerging Women's Cricketer of the Year. The off-spinner has picked up 19 wickets across formats. The Indian women's football team thrashed Maldives by 14-0 in the international friendly match in Bengaluru on Monday. The goal fest continued throughout the match as Pyari Haha and debutant Linda Com Serto netted hat-tricks, while Neha and Kajal D'Souza scored 2 goals apiece. India, who were ranked 69th in the women's football FIFA rankings, started the match with 8 debutants against Maldives, who are 163rd ranked. It was the first of the 2 friendly matches. The second will be played on Thursday. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.